welcome officially from Asfar side for this digital talk. This is actually the 14th talk that Asfar is organizing, and it started as a small social action project this year, and it's completely youth-led by at the moment the ESC volunteers that Asfar is having. And also to introduce myself, I'm Emina Hasanagić. I'm the International Project Manager with Asfar. So as if we go into the content of today's digital talk, we will be talking firstly about European Solidarity Corps, but then also some different things like why would you decide to participate, who can join the European Solidarity Corps, how does the European Solidarity Corps work, what could you be asked to do in a ESC project, then what are the different opportunities that are available, and we will focus mainly on volunteering projects. And then in the second part, you will hear stories from current and former ESC volunteers. So for those who are not familiar with the European Solidarity Corps, the European Solidarity Corps are a new European Union initiative which creates opportunities for young people to volunteer or work in projects of their interest in their own country or abroad that would benefit communities and people around Europe. The European Solidarity Corps projects bring together young people to build a more inclusive society. They support vulnerable people and they are responding to societal challenges. They can offer opportunities to young people to carry out volunteering activities, trainerships, and jobs, or run their own solidarity projects. Maybe some of you have heard before about EVS or the European Voluntary Service. So actually, that's how ESC was known before, and EVS was part of the Erasmus Plus project. Since 2018, it's a standalone program which has its own budget. So why would somebody decide to participate? So this can bring to a young person a significant achievement, and it can be a significant achievement to any young person. It can be later an asset when you are applying for a job, or it can help a young person when you decide to apply for higher education. It's important to mention here that volunteers do not receive payment for the work they are doing, but they do receive other support, which is so money or a grant to travel to and from the project. The accommodation is covered during the project. Also, meals are covered. There is a medical insurance in place, which in this project is called Signum. Then also the volunteers receive pocket money, which is amount of money set by the European Solidarity Corps program, and it always depends in which country the volunteer is hosted. Then there is linguistical support, depending on the country where the volunteer is volunteering. There can be an online linguistical support system, or some on-site language support would be organized. And also the volunteers go through diverse trainings. There is always a pre-departure training, but also when they arrive in the host country, there is an on-arrival and a midterm training. Um, so here you can see who can actually join the European Solidarity Corps. The first thing a person needs to do is actually register on the website, which is listed here. But also it's important to know that you can register when you're 17, but you can't participate in a project until you're 18. and these projects are available to people up to the age of 30 years old. Also, to participate in a volunteering project, you must be legally a resident in one of the EU member states or one of the following countries, which are listed below. I have to mention here that some of these countries are called program countries, so they're fully participating in the project. So these are the EU member states, but then also North Macedonia and Turkey, Liechtenstein, Iceland, and Norway. All these other countries are called partner countries, and there is just one segment of the ESC projects in which they can participate, but we will come to that part later. And so how does the ESC projects work? So the European Solidarity Corps is actually a pool of young people who are registered at the website and who have interest to take part in solidarity-related projects. And at the other side, you have eligible organizations that have access to this website and in this sense to these young people. I wanted to mention here that all these organizations undergo checks before they're authorized to run any ESC projects, which means when they finalize these checks, they receive a quality label. And just after receiving the quality label, these organizations can apply for funding for their projects 3 times per year normally. These are like February, April, and October deadlines. And after that, then they have to wait around 4 months before they know the project can start and the project is approved. I'm mentioning this just that everybody understand there is a lot of work done and a long time needed for a project to be approved, and then after this the volunteer actually can apply for some of these projects. So this is actually how it looks when an organization wants to find a volunteer. And I'm showing this because you can see here, for example, you have registered and then you have not uploaded your CV. Most of the organizations will look for a volunteer that has a valid CV on the website. So when you apply, when you register, I would always recommend you to upload your CV, because if I, for example, as an organization, click here, I would not see you, although you're maybe someone who is fulfilling the requirements for my project, but I would think that you are not really interested in this because you didn't fill it in completely. And this is the way how an organization can directly contact one young person for their project. There is also another way. So the volunteers can by themselves go on the website and search for projects. Which means that you here on this link that I have put can search for all the approved projects and find something that's of your interest. And then, for example, you will see here how one of the projects that Asfar is running at the moment, we have posted it here. And then this part here would not be red, it would be green, and you as a young person would select this and say to us as an organization, you're interested in one of our projects. And then actually the process of selection would come in place. So we would be contacting you, having interviews with you. This always a bit depends on every organization, how they do it. So I will not go into deep in this section. But then officially when we have decided who the volunteers would be, we would send an official offer through this website, which the volunteer has to accept. One of the things just to know is although you're officially accepted as a volunteer, there's a lot of work to be done before you arrive to a project. So there is preparational work. You have maybe to do some administrative things, and then also personally to prepare to go abroad for a project. But this is then also completely different for every organization, so we will not speak about this at this stage. We will just now go through the different opportunities that are available. So there are three opportunities, so volunteering projects, trainerships and jobs, and solidarity projects. Volunteering projects are open to all the countries which I mentioned before, but these two opportunities is something that's only available for program countries. Also, Asfar does not have any experience in trainerships and jobs. That's why we will not go in deep into this topic. But also in solidarity projects, they are a bit different than volunteering projects. They are implemented by at least 5 young people who want to make a positive change in their local community. And Asfar has run one of these projects lately called Resolve Social Action. But this is also only done in EU program countries, and the work or the project is done in the local community. So we will now focus for this, which is open to everyone, which is volunteering projects. Something that's important for volunteering projects are these, which I mentioned, the quality labels. So and there has to be 2 organizations. So there is the support organization, which is the organization from your home country. And there is the host organization, so the organization from the country you want to volunteer in. And something that's important to know, any of the 2 can be the applicant organization, so that doesn't really matter to you a lot. But something that I can say for volunteers who would like to apply in different projects is that you could potentially, if you have an organization where you would like to volunteer, you could contact that organization in advance, and then they could be applying with the project just for you. That would mean that you would have to wait and go through this process which I mentioned, and wait for the project to be approved. But at least you would potentially be sure that you would be one of the volunteers doing the placement. And what are the different placements? So there are 2 kinds. First is individual volunteering, which can be a short-term volunteering and long-term volunteering. And there are volunteering teams. So the volunteering teams are last from 2 weeks to 2 months. And at the same moment, there are 10 to 40 participants in one place doing some project. So mostly there are some kind of festivals organized, normally normal circumstances, not now during COVID times. And then there are short-term volunteering, which means 2 weeks to 2 months. Something that I have to mention here is that actually if you do a short-term project, you can still do one long-term, but it doesn't go the other way around. And like I said, the long-term ones are from 2 to 12 months. So we will now hear from Ljiljana, she has done a short-term project, and then after that, a few long-term projects. So Ljiljana, if you can unmute yourself.
Yes. Okay, hello again, everyone. I'm Ljiljana Brati from Albania, and for 2 months I have been as a volunteer in Bulgaria from August to October in this year, 2020. The project title was about archaeology, tradition, and creativity. We have worked in archaeological areas in different places, like Velingrad and Belgic. They are 2 cities in Bulgaria. We have visited a lot of museums, and in some of them we have worked, like assisting the staff in museum. We have, about the creativity, we have learned how to wave, like in this photo, how to paint, for example, eggs, because the tradition in Bulgaria was painting eggs. And we have learned pottery with water and soil. It was fun, interesting, and so and we have visited a lot of cities, touristic cities. We have learned about sorry for my English, culinary and language. And to be honest, it was so difficult because they use Cyrillic alphabet, so it was, in general, that was my experience. Besides that, we improved English, so it was, we were from different countries, from Spain, France, Turkey, Albania. So that was a nice experience, knowing different cultures and different languages.
Great. Thank you, Ljiljana, for sharing your experience.
Okay.
Also, just to say, these kind of projects can be in any kind of different area, depending on the organizations that are implementing them. So now I will stop sharing my screen, and Jade will share her screen, and you will hear more about free long-term experiences.
Okay. Can you see my screen? Is it working?
Yes.
Okay. There we go. So, like Emina says, myself, Luke, and Maria are all current or former long-term ESC volunteers. So I'll introduce myself, and then I'll ask Luke and Maria to introduce themselves. So my name's Jade. I'm from the UK, and I am currently on a 6-month placement with Asfar from September this year till the end of February next year. Luke or Maria?
Okay, I can go next. I am Luke. I'm here with Asfar. I came in January this year, and I leave in just over a month. So I will have been here for near enough 11 months in total. Here in Sarajevo with Asfar. Yeah, that's me. Maria.
Hi, I'm Maria. I'm from Germany, and I did the EVS, the former one, at Wings of Hope, which is the former organization that Emina was also working, also in Sarajevo, and I did a 12-month placement.
Thank you, guys. So we wanted to go over some of the common questions that people have when they want to volunteer with the ESC. And I think the most important one to start with is how we discovered the ESC and the organisations that we volunteer for. So I actually found the ESC through a friend on my master's suggesting it to me when I said I wanted more work experience in NGOs. And he said, why don't you look at the ESC? And then I found Asfar through Work Away, through wanting to work in an NGO. That's how I found out. Do Maria and Luke have any other way that you found out?
For me, it was also, I had a flatmate, a Portuguese flatmate actually, and she told me about it, which was surprising because I haven't heard of it before. Just about different volunteer programs, but not this one. And I found Wings of Hope, the organization, through this huge platform. I think it's the previous one also from the EU. And where you can put topics, what you want to do. And so I found Wings of Hope, which was like very interesting to me in the things they were doing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also heard about it through a friend of mine. I did my master's here in Sarajevo in Bosnia last year, and a friend of mine who also did it, a Spanish guy, sent me a message after we'd graduated saying, I've just seen this advert shared in a Facebook group for volunteering for this Asfar program in Bosnia, and you want to go back to Bosnia, so quick, jump at the chance. Before that, I had never heard of the ESC. I've also just seen the question in the chat from Eilish. I'm 24. I'll hand back to Jade and Maria for their answers.
Oh, I'm 22. Yeah, 22.
I'm 29 now, and I was 27 when I started my ES.
And like Emina said, you can be from 18 to 30 to be on an ESC volunteering. I think, I don't know, Emina, do you have to be 30 the entire time, or is it just if you start and you're 30?
So when the project is approved, you have to be, you can't be, you can be still 30. So during your placement, you could be 31 at some point, so it doesn't make an issue. But when the project is approved, you have to be 30 years old, not older.
Okay, thank you. And then a big question that I had before I came to Sarajevo was, what do we do, or what did Maria do in her volunteering? So we have a video from Maria, but just quickly before that, usually I know for me and Luke, we work from around 10 till 4. We work from cafes because there's just very good Wi-Fi in the cafes here, and there's a very big cafe culture in Bosnia. And we have a lot of Zoom meetings because obviously coronavirus. Have you got anything to add, Luke?
No, well, just that, yes, I mean, ours is this year, it's been very Zoom based. There was a few months, like I think a lot of people in a lot of places, where I didn't do anything every day. I stayed in my flat because the government sternly told us that's what we'd be doing. I think that for our volunteering, it's been a bit strange, perhaps in a way that has been exacerbated by coronavirus, which is why it's also useful to maybe hear how it was for Maria in pre-corona times.
Yeah, so I was going to the office for 5 hours, I think, a day from 10 to 3 was my working time. And the organization itself had like 3 different topics. They were working on peace building, on education, also on psychotherapy, which was like very interesting for me because it was so different things to discover. And so I basically was working in the peace building project with Emina together, like doing some research work in the office, but also going to schools and implementing some anti-bullying campaigns with the students, of course, with support because I don't speak Bosnian, unfortunately. But yeah, the kids were really great in English. I was surprised, better than me. And so this was my basic. Also, I was offering German lessons. This was also always a need. So this was my everyday life, let's say, like doing the schools or going to the office and doing German lessons or research things. And motivated through the training courses that we had. I don't know if you guys have these training courses now, midterm training or on arrival training, or yeah. So we had this in live. I don't know if you do it per Zoom or also if you go somewhere. And also via Zoom now. Do you have Zoom conferences on this?
So I had my as part of the European Solidarity Corps, as Maria says, you have these trainings where you go and meet up with volunteers at other organizations. My first one in February was in person in Croatia. My second one in June or July was on Zoom.
Mine at the start of October was over Zoom, which was obviously very different from being in person, but it was very interesting to hear what everyone else was doing. And I think it's important to say that not everyone does the same thing. Like I spoke to some people who were in Kosovo, and they were working on a farm, and they were building the house that they wanted to stay in, and it was there's very different ones, which I think is important, and they're not all the same. So I think there's something for everyone. Maria, would you like to go into your personal project, and then we can show the video?
Yes. So motivated by the trainings, I thought that I need to do my own project, and through a friend of my mom who had a sailing boat and who founded also an NGO, we did a cooperation, and we organized a sailing trip with teenagers. The idea was to give them the opportunity to experience themselves in a community where they experience that they have and also can engage actively and to do a change. So that they have to make an effort to make this community work. That's what we wanted to learn them, so that they can do it in their own community at home. So we had a workshop, a pre-sailing workshop, where we were talking about topics like peaceful conflict resolution, communication skills, and also with mediating. So when you enter a conflict, how do you act, and things like this, dealing with emotions. And these were all things that were needed actually on the boat, because on the boat you live in a very confined space and you can't run away. You have to share a bed, you have to take care of the food together, and you have to take care that you don't shower too long, because there's not enough water on the boat for everyone. So there are really challenges coming up, and so we wanted for them to be prepared, and also then to make the learning effort, like the learning itself, more deep, so that they can use it afterwards also. So in the end, we had like this 7 days workshop in the beginning, and finally we went to Croatia, to the Adriatic Sea, where the sailing boat of Reinhold was his name, the skipper. It was on the Adriatic Sea, and then we had this 5 days sailing trip, where we were only we had one stop at Rab, the city, but then we were only on the boat. And for the teenagers, it was a really, really great experience, and they all bonded very well. And but there were no conflicts on the boat, which was a bit of a pity, because we couldn't use our new skills. But still, for them it was very interesting and fun, and it was a huge success in the end, actually. Yeah.
Do you want me to stop sharing my screen now so you can play the video, Emina?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe just for the video, it's like there's no speaking, because the wind was always too strong. So we couldn't filter it out in the end. So this is why there's only melody, because the wind in the sea is very strong.
And I have to say, so as when Maria was doing this project, I was working at Wings of Hope, and this was I'm still proud of this project, and I really think what Maria has achieved with this project was quite amazing, because she didn't mention that she fundraised by herself all the money to organize the project. She prepared all the workshops, and she was leading also the workshops on the boat with a group of young people, and so I'm still proud, Maria.
You were huge support with all the finances and stuff, so I was not alone.
Okay, so I will now play the movie.
How's it gone? So far, so good. This boat has the wind from starboard, so this boat has priority.
So you saw how Maria's personal project was, and also maybe now Luke and Jade can share a bit of their experience, although it's completely different because they were not able to do really anything in person because of the situation with COVID.
Yeah, that video was amazing. It looks really warm as well. And it's really nice that you have the video of it as well, so you can always look back on it. I would say that my personal project is more because of the COVID situation. I did a. Can you see the screen, by the way? Yeah. Okay. I made a new campaign for Asfar for the social media called Woman of the Week, which is every Monday we celebrate the life and time of a different woman in history and why she is so inspiring. And I wanted to particularly highlight non-white women because a lot of the time traditional feminism focuses on white women. And then I guess the other thing would be the Instagram that I started about humanitarian migration facts, because I'm very passionate about that. Yeah, that's what I've done, but Maria's does look a lot cooler.
No, I wouldn't say that. And this is what I love about the EVS, that you can, like, you can do anything. You're free with your own creativity, and you can bring your own things inside. Like when you say you're passionate about the migration thing and you find something you can you do it. So this is the amazing thing about the EVS, I think. Anything is possible and everything is cool and fun.
Luke?
I was also shaped by the coronavirus pandemic, and the main project I started really was in April when I started these digital talks, which we've now run, I think Emina said 14 of, but which we started in April as a way of keeping it in touch with the network of young people that Asfar's projects had in the past involved in person in different countries around Europe, but in the circumstances of limited travel couldn't really do that. So we wanted to try and do something else, and putting together a series of lectures on just many different topics seemed to me to be a good step in that direction. So we've had topics on a whole range of different subjects by different people from academia, from the third sector, so from NGOs, and we're still doing them. And hopefully, now that Jade and Rida have started taking part and started running some of them, and with new volunteers coming in the new year, hopefully they'll be able to keep going as a sort of bigger project for Asfar more broadly.
Okay, thank you very much. So what are the benefits of volunteering with the ESC? I think for me personally, the main aspect that made the ESC different to volunteering in other NGOs was the fact that you weren't expected to pay into it. Everyone was given is given the same amount of support, and you're given financial support. So it's not like you are losing money doing this. You're gaining so much, and you're also not out of pocket, which I think is quite important, especially as someone that's just graduated and students don't have a lot of money. I would definitely say that learning a language, learning Bosnian, although it's very difficult and I'm not very good at it, it's been really good to do that, and I've enjoyed it. And just being in a new country with new people and seeing different cultures has been really a real benefit of the ESC for me. Maria and Luke, what are your benefits?
So yeah, I would sign everything you wrote on this slide. I agree with everything. And last for me also, I think a benefit is that at work you're not involved in this everyday lives in the everyday working process of the organization. So they don't fall apart if you're not there. So that means there's more space for your own things. And also you have always supervisors, so you don't have full responsibility. So that also for me, it encouraged me to try things and to be more brave in the end. Like you don't have to bring something in the end of the day as in a normal job, but you can live more like what you want, and there's space and time for it and support, which is awesome, I think.
I think I'd echo what's been said. I was a slightly different experience to Jade because, like I mentioned earlier, I was coming back to a city that I'd already lived in for a year. I did my master's here, so came back with the ESC, and it's been for me, even despite the coronavirus, a really good way of being involved and understanding more of how an organization is run. So getting some work experience, and also to have an opportunity to get some support for furthering language learning and traveling around Bosnia. So carrying on things that I'd started before, but couldn't have done if it hadn't been for the sort of, or couldn't have continued without the sort of framework that the ESC provides.
On the other side, there are some things to consider. I think culture shock, as Luke will know, was was the first thing I think I experienced, because you're just used to your home country and things that you're used to may be different in the country that you go to. And I would say homesickness has been a thing for me, but the good thing about being in a modern world is that we can just do Zoom calls, so I can contact my friends and family, and you get a certain amount of days that you can take off. So you can, especially if we're not in coronavirus, you could possibly meet up with friends in another country, or they could come see you. But yeah, it is an intense experience. I don't know if intense is the right word, but it's I think it's definitely worthwhile, and I think it really helps you grow as a person. I think I've grown as a person since moving to Sarajevo and trying to learn Bosnian and talk to people. Have you guys got anything that you would say that you felt? Have you felt any of those kind of things?
Yeah, definitely. And also, I think there is ups and downs, and there is definitely downs, and but it's worth it to learn, I think. The things you mentioned, like the growing, and that it almost only brings you further. And for me, more, like the very important thing is like that you always remember to reflect your own culture. And like I made this experience in the bus where when I came to Bosnia, and there was this old man taking huge care of me and giving me coffee, every stop we had. And at the end, he wanted my Facebook page and to be my Facebook friend. And like at this moment, I didn't realize, but in Germany, when an older guy asks you about your Facebook page, it's very creepy. And but in Bosnia, I realized that they have a totally different approach with this Facebook, and that everyone is on Facebook. So he just wanted to invite me for dinner and like for coffee, or like at his home. Like the hospitality has spoken. So I really regretted that I didn't do it, because yeah, I was so stuck in my own culture that I lost opportunities, and this was really sad. So always rethink your own habits. I think this is very important.
I also think it's worth noting that it is also quite, in many ways, it's similar and not similar to say starting a new job, in that particularly if you're going and working with a new organization, it can sometimes be difficult to get used to the environment you're working with, especially when that's a sort of the shock of starting a new role as a volunteer within an organization, at the same time as perhaps having to come to terms with either with a new city or a new culture. So I think that's another aspect to consider as well, that there will be some strains that you expect and others that you don't expect, but you also have to factor in that both of those will be happening at the same time.
Yeah, I completely agree with you guys. This is kind of similar to the personal projects, and I would say personally, I'm very proud of Woman of the Week and the humanitarian migration page, but I'm also just proud of myself for doing the project and moving away from home and moving countries, because I think it is quite a big thing to do. And I would say that's what I'm most proud of, is going and doing the project and sticking at it. What are your guys' proudest moments?
I think my proudest moment was that the project happened, because as Emina first said, that the finance, it was a huge difficult part, and I was supposed to collect 4,000 euros, which was impossible. So we were far behind our project plan, and suddenly there was like money, and we had to adjust everything. Like we had to limit the number of participants and change the workshop days, and like everything had to be different, but it was at the end possible to be done. So what I learned, and what I'm kind of proud of, is that I showed the flexibility that was needed and didn't stick to my plan, so which was difficult. But yeah, at the end we made it with the money, and yeah, I think that's what I'm proud of.
I think for me it was again kind of weird because of coronavirus, and that kind of factors into it, in that I'm most proud in a personal sense of staying in Bosnia through the first part of a lockdown. It was difficult at times, a very strange thing to be doing, to be far away from home as it was all unfolding. But I'm also, I think, as part of the volunteering, proud to have been part of the Asfar team as it was responding to having to suddenly change plans at short notice and think about how to make projects go online, when I think Emina would probably agree that projects in an organization that has historically always done in-person things in different cities, having to think up ways of doing these online, as have so many other organizations, was something I'm proud to have been part of. You know, setting up online activities for 50, 70 odd people was a feat that I think we did well.
Okay. And then I thought it would be good for us to provide the advice that we would give to future participants. I would say one of the most important things is to know that you're capable and that your mental health is very important. So say if you feel very stressed, take a minute, take as long as you need for yourself, and that you are completely capable of completing this project. And paired with that, I would identify what you're passionate about and try and come up with personal projects or introduce them into the organization you're with, because that will make it even more enjoyable. Because I really enjoy making the Woman of the Week posts and the humanitarian migration posts, and I think that makes my experience overall even more enjoyable. And I would say ask questions, because I don't think there's ever a wrong question, especially like Luke said, when you first start at an organization, it's very hard to understand what's going on straight away. So I think asking questions would be my advice as well. Have you guys got any other advice?
Yeah, I think it's really worth saying, because it is daunting, it is intense, but it's also fundamentally a really great opportunity. And I think my advice would be, anyone who takes part in this, you may well not have an opportunity to spend time in another country again, to live in another country, and you particularly may not have another opportunity to spend time in the country in question, for example, Bosnia, in the case of Jade, Maria and I. So even though it is going to be difficult, there's a lot to be able to grasp there, and you can make the most of it, even in, for us, these strange coronavirus times. We have been able to travel around Bosnia and see this country. You can really make the most of your 6 months or 12 months or whatever. And I would say that is something to always refocus on, is that it's a time limited thing. It will eventually be over and you will eventually get to go home. So in the short period that you've got, because 11 months for me has been short, despite spending several months of that in lockdown, is to really grab the bull by the horns and make the most of that time in a country that is different. Because the things that lead to culture shock, the different language, the different culture, are also the things that really add value once it's all over, because you get to go home having been able to appreciate that you really experienced something different. And when you go home, you'll talk about these different things in a way that makes you realize that actually you have had this great opportunity, because the people you're talking to may well look at you and say, what are you talking about? These things make no sense to us, but you've had that opportunity. So I think it's always that my key advice is always to try and reframe it in the sense of it's time limited and it's an opportunity to make the most of.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm very glad that I have done this, and I think it is literally a once in a lifetime opportunity, especially if you do a long-term volunteering placement, because you can only do one. So I'd really recommend the experience. Maria, have you got any other advice?
Yeah, first, look, this was a very motivating speech. I got a bit goosebumps, and I felt sad that I already did it. Yeah, important for me was I like when I was prepared by my sending organization to do the EVS. I was told that there will be downs when you go back to your home country after the EVS or the ESC, and I didn't really take it like I thought this is not serious, but I experienced it, that there was a very deep down. So I was not really prepared what to do. So during this year, I lived a very high. Like I was on a high because everything was amazing. When you're abroad, you meet new people every time, every day, nearly, and so it was very exciting. And then when I got home, everything was like as if I never left. It was boring, and I didn't know what to do with myself. So this was a really deep phase afterwards. So my advice is really be prepared. Maybe during your EUS, look out for what you're doing afterwards to not fall into this hole. And many returners, let's say, they had this experience. So yeah.
Thank you very much. So thank you all for listening to our presentation. We've got a few minutes now. If I can stop sharing my screen. Is my screen still sharing?
Yes, you did, Jade, I think.
It stopped sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how to get back onto the tab. But if you guys have any questions, I know there was one in the chat, which I'm trying to find. Oh, there we go. Then ask away, because we've got a couple of minutes. We've got a question from Ailish, if I'm pronouncing that right. What are our future career goals, and how does the volunteering link to it? I would love to work for an NGO one day that either works with refugees or women or both. And I think having gone and just stayed in university, I didn't really know how an NGO worked. And I think having work experience in an NGO would set me apart from someone else who doesn't, and I'm probably more employable than someone who hasn't done ESC. So that would be my answer to the question. Michael, Maria, or anyone? Emina?
Did Maria want to say something, or was that okay?
I wanted to say, Luke can say.
Yes. So one of the main things that motivated me to come back to do my ESC and to come back to Bosnia was because I had hoped to either go further into academia or into either an NGO or organization working in Bosnia, focused on Bosnia. So a big part of my motivation was to come back, spend more time, do more language learning, and also see how an organization working in Bosnia works in Bosnia. So I think that in that sense, I'm glad with how this has gone, and I feel that it will be useful for me in that sense. And I think it is just useful as work experience too, to experience working with an organization. I am now going to have to wish everyone goodbye because I'm half an hour late to a Bosnian class, so I'm going to leave. But yeah, thank you, Jade, for preparing this, and I hope it's been useful for everyone who has been taking part. Okay.
Bye, Luke. Maria, do you have anything else to add to the question?
Maybe just like I always wanted to work as a youth worker afterwards, actually, but I kind of lost track. Now I'm doing social work, but I realized I need more methods in my pocket. So I studied social work now, and I'm thinking of becoming a psychotherapist for kids and teenagers, because then I feel like really be prepared and go back and do the work like my colleagues also did there, which I was very impressed by, and they really made an impact and an effort. So yeah, that's my plan so far.
Thank you very much. I think Emina or Shanice, it probably is more of a question for you guys. Are there opportunities to volunteer part-time or online?
So officially ESC is a full-time volunteering placement. At the moment, there are maybe some of these possibilities to start online if there is an issue for the volunteer to come to a country. But without COVID-19, it's always a full-time involvement in the host country. And also, if someone else has any kind of questions, please either ask or send it in the chat. I can also maybe share from the side of the organization that it's also a learning experience for the organization because you work with volunteers who are coming from different countries if you're the host organization. And then there is difference in every volunteer, and also every person is different. Then you can get younger volunteers who are who just graduated, or you can get older volunteers who have some working experience. So it's a real learning experience for every NGO that implements ESC projects. And it's from a personal side, it's also a wonderful experience, because you, as if you're a coordinator of the volunteers, or you make friends. And now, me personally, I have friends in diverse countries, which I have spent 1 year here in Sarajevo. So it goes the same as for the volunteers. It's a personal and professional learning experience. It's also for the people who are on site involved in all these projects.
I have a question for Jade and Maria. You know, like, okay, so you guys have obviously left like your usual environment, and you know how you guys have lived forever, however long. Do you find that, like, so when you're in your free time, when you're not helping with the organization, like, how do you guys, like, do you not feel like kind of really out of the loop with like your family and your friends and like your usual like circle as to like your hobbies that you would do back home? Like, what do you guys do to like fill up that space, kind of thing?
For me personally, I phone my friends all the time, and I phone my family on like Skype and stuff. In terms of in my free time, I just like to go to cafes, and I don't feel, at first I was like, oh no, everyone's going to know that I can't really speak Bosnian. But now it's really nice to talk to people that have lived here for ages, and I've made friends with all of the people that work in the cafes, and I've been practicing my Bosnian with them. I don't feel out the loop at all with my family or my friends, because we just talk all the time. But I definitely really recommend the experience. I'm very, very glad that I came here, and I just think Sarajevo and the entire country is just amazing.
Yeah, same for me. Like going for coffee, I think is enough in Sarajevo. You don't need to do more. And sorry, this is my dog. He wants to get out. But like for me, the precious thing in the beginning was that I had flatmates. So they were also volunteers, and I think this is a very common thing, that when you do volunteering, you have flatmates. Either you share even a room, or you share a flat. So I was never alone. So I had this Italian flatmate in the beginning, and she showed me around, and like she made me meet all her friends. So I was not alone for 1 minute, and then it changed, and then you get to know them better, and you have your friendships there. And yeah, with the other ones at home, you can, thanks to the internet, you can Skype all the time. So this is not a problem, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a very good point, because that Luke already being here was a massive help, because I just kind of, he invited me to all of his things with his friends, and now they're my friends, and he showed me around the city, and so did Emina and Shanice, and it was nice to have people here, and you will always have that with an ESC opportunity. And I think that's a really good point, that you're never alone. You can always reach out to someone who lives here, and now I've made friends that I didn't know already from the internet.
Thanks for answering the question.
Has anybody else got a question?
If there are no more questions, we can slowly finish. If anyone has any kind of questions regarding ESC, you can also always write to us. I will leave the email in the chat. But as I said, like the most support you will receive from the organizations from your home. And should the first place where you should refer to and ask for support, because they would be your direct support for doing an ESC project. Okay, then thank you all for coming. We will have again a digital talk in 2 weeks' time. So if you're interested, you can join us. And as said, try to do an ESC as it's one of a lifetime opportunity, and try to enjoy it as much as you can. And stay safe during these times now.